Hello, and welcome to the Resume Ready podcast. My name is Brian Schneider, and one of the tools I've created to help people write stronger resumes is a free 2-part infographic called Resume Ready, the links to which can be found in the show notes. The first infographic presents a framework for resume writing, and the second infographic is more detailed and provides guidance regarding specific resume sections. Today's episode focuses on the fifth concept of the Resume Ready Part 1 infographic, and it's called Pitfalls. First, though, I want to tell you that today's episode is sponsored by my friends at Bradley Garrett Salon on Brookhaven Circle. As you know, getting my hair cut is one of my favorite things to do. When I'm at the salon, I feel relaxed, comfortable, and they do a great job of making me feel special. It's an excellent form of self-care which will boost your self-esteem and help you feel refreshed and restored. My family and our friends' families have gone to Bradley Garrett for years because the stylists know how to make you look and feel great. I highly encourage you to check out Bradley Garrett Salon on Brookhaven Circle. Now on to the podcast. Pitfalls. Job hopping. In an effort to avoid a candidate who is likely to quickly leave the company, one item employers often look for on a candidate's resume is the number of jobs you've had over a given period of time, and also the length of time you've stayed at each of your jobs. If you're changing jobs every 8 to 14 months, or you've had several jobs inside a 3 to 4 year period, you should really think about your resume format. Another way to consider this pitfall is that you don't want there to be a pattern of short-term job durations on your resume. As mentioned previously, in these instances, you might consider choosing a resume format other than chronological, which is the format where you list your jobs in reverse chronological order, so as not to highlight this short-term employment pattern. Employment gaps. Another red flag for employers when reviewing resumes is when a candidate has gaps in his or her employment. These gaps can sometimes be viewed as the inability to pursue or maintain employment, which can, of course, cause employers concern. Again, by choosing a functional or skills-based format which highlights your competencies, you'll be less likely to draw attention to such employment gaps. Career plateaus and backsteps. Sometimes during our careers, we have ups and downs when changing jobs, and these changes can appear on our resume like we may have reached a peak, but then had to settle for a lesser position for the next job. Such backsteps can be explained in an interview more easily in person. However, on your resume, by using creative terminology for previously held positions, you will help draw less attention to these kinds of patterns, which can help avoid red flags in the eyes of the employer. Vague or passive language. This kind of pitfall plagues everyone. Unfortunately, there appears to be no universal effort to teach us to avoid passive language, and as a result, we often defer to the phraseology from job descriptions using terms like held or participated instead of more active verbs such as managed and directed. Such passive language doesn't present our achievements in a good light and should be modified using methods such as the PAR or STAR techniques. The cardinal sin of passivity for resume writing, however, is copying your current job description and listing it under your position on your resume. This should be avoided 100% of the time for the aforementioned reasons. Typos and inconsistencies. One of the inherent drawbacks to resumes is that you're not present to help interpret the information being read. As such, you are literally at the mercy of the person reviewing it, and if your resume has typos or inconsistencies, you should expect it to be thrown in the trash without further consideration. While this may sound harsh, people value their time above almost everything else, and when they read mistakes on your resume, they're going to think you didn't care enough to proofread it or spend sufficient time creating an important document. Irrelevant content. I would like to think this pitfall never occurs, but alas, it happens occasionally. Often people include, say, hobbies or interests on their resume when those items are more geared towards pre-college social media platforms. Employers are concerned about one thing: you being able to perform well in the vacancy and remain an employee for a long time. I would suggest saving the hobby references for social media or dating apps. why it matters. Avoiding pitfalls is crucial to maintaining continuity in your message and the flow for your resume. The more clear and concise your story, the greater chance of resonating with the reader. By ensuring your resume avoids these pitfalls, you'll give yourself a competitive advantage so you can win the interview. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. For more information on the topics covered in today's episode and many others, please check out the articles on my LinkedIn profile, a link to which can be found in the show notes. If you feel today's episode was helpful, please consider sharing it with a friend and subscribing to the show. Tune in to Resume Ready next time when I'll be discussing the best resume format for you to use.